Good morning, students. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
We just touch upon what we had discussed in the last class. I had asked you that if you have any query, you may ask. There was one student who said that I'm not very clear with the concept of cross docking. Now, what I've done is I've tried to create a picture. I've got a picture to show you. Let me see if you can see my slides. Uh, is this viewable to all?
No, ma'am.
No.
Not yet, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Just let me try. Is it clear to, is the picture visible to you now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No visible.
See, this is what cross docking is about. On the left hand side, it says inbound. Inbound means what is coming within the store or what is coming within the manufacturing setup. Now, you see, they've used different colors, one purple, one yellow, one blue, and a green, which shows that one uh, common product is being brought to your cross docking terminal or it is being brought to your warehouse. So purple could represent garments, yellow could represent, purple could represent garments from Marks and Spencers, purple could represent P&G's products, blue could represent maybe electronic goods, green maybe representing books from a particular publisher. So they're common goods coming from different suppliers. So they have used different colors to indicate different goods being brought here: grocery, garments, electronics, and let's say books. At the cross docking terminal, they're all in the warehouse. What happens? They dump these goods and they're held here for a period of time, say a month or maybe 15 days, till they are demanded by the respective retailers. Now, when the concept of cross docking came, the goods need not be stored here in this warehouse anymore. So they are just received, they are sorted, and they are shipped at the same point of time. So what happens is, this is retailer one. So you see there are four inbound trucks coming. So it represents inbound logistics. That is trucks coming to give you goods at your warehouse, to deliver goods at your warehouse. And outbound means when they are shipped out to different retailers. So in the warehouse, they would have been stocked for maybe 15 days or a month till it was demanded or ordered for by the retailers. Now, on the right side, we have outbound logistics. Outbound indicates that they have been demanded by the retailers. So when the concept of cross-docking came, the goods need not be stored anymore for 15 days or a month's time. They're immediately dispatched by forming the consignment for retailers. Consignment means what has been demanded, what of which item has been demanded by different retailers. So you can see there are four trucks where the word outbound is written, and they're leaving the warehouse to go to the respective retail outlets. And they have assortment. They have some of purple, some of green, some of yellow. The second one also has a little bit of few of purple and more of blue and yellow. The third one has more of blue and green and less of purple. And the fourth has a small share of each. So this is what happens in a cross docking. They need not be stored. They need not be stored. All the goods won't be stored. So some of it, okay, are left there. The rest of it are dispatched by forming consignment for different retailers. So inbound logistics gets you the goods from different suppliers, garments, electronics, books, um, grocery, they all representing different items being brought by different suppliers. So they were homogeneous products, one, two, three, four. Here, what happens? It forms an assortment of products depending upon the demands of the individual retailer. So in a cross-docking terminal, they are just received, they are offloaded here in the cross-docking center, and they are unloaded to different trucks depending upon what has been ordered by the retailers. This is the concept of cross docking. They need not be stored anymore. They form consignment for the retailer, so there's a lot of hectic activity even in the warehouse. Earlier in the warehouse, what used to happen is, say, first of the month, the goods would be received, and maybe on 15th and the 30th of the month, say 15 days later, they would be dispatched. But in a cross docking system, they are come, they are sorted out to form consignment for the different retailers, and they leave the center. So it becomes a junction for dispatch of the goods. So where all the goods are sorted out and they form consignment for the retailers. So is it clear? Am I clear with the concept of cross dock?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. Any other query anybody has before we move on? Any other query till whatever we have discussed? We've discussed, I think, basic concept of information system, where we took up two, three definition. It being called a socio-technical system. That was the second topic, and the third, which was using information system as a competitive advantage, and as such, using information system as a competitive advantage, and we used different strategies: innovation, growth, alliance, uh, then cost leadership, and differentiation as strategies. If any other query before we move on? Yes, I just wait for a minute. Anybody has any question? I'm not able to recall, but I did see some question on something on competitive advantage. So I'm not able to recall right now what it was. If you're present, you can state your question here. There was some question related with competitive advantage theory that we discussed. Anyway, I proceed. You can come up with your query next time. These are the topics that we have discussed so far. What is information system? Information system being used as a socio-technical system, and information system of competitive advantage. Now we move on to role of a CIO. CIO is a Chief Information Officer. This is how the person who is engaged in compilation of information, the person who is engaged in basically advising the company for the use of a new technology, for purchasing a new technology, is called. He's known as also a CTO, Chief Technological Officer. So, who is a CIO? CIO is a Chief Information Officer. He looks after the processes, the people, and the technology that is to be used by this organization. So, how the processes should be defined, who are the people, or what is the technology that the people should use, what is the new technology in the market, should it be purchased, should it be imbibed by your organization. So, he's an advisor of technology. So, he's also known as Chief Technical Officer or a Chief Information Officer. So, the topic that we are covering today is who is a CIO, what is his role in an organization, what is his role in an organization, and how his role has changed, what are the threats he faces, and how exactly should he behave now. So, the Chief Information Officer basically oversees the people, the processes in use, and the technology to be used in an organization to ensure that they deliver outcomes that support the goals of the organization. So, the basic reason for getting a new technology is to ensure that the performance of the organization increases. So, that is the basic thrust. So, as and when organization is becoming more digital, now why we say digital is because new technology is emerging and we try to use the technology in every way. Like you talk of social media. Now, I think you all are familiar with what social media is. We'll be taking it up in greater depth in, I think, Unit 4. So basically, we are using the media to our benefit. So organizations today are using the social media uh, for seeing the status of the candidate. They're using it for hiring people. They are using it for checking on the behavior of the people, or the attitude of the people, so they'll be using it for branding. We're using the social media for branding. So we are using social media for different uses, for different purposes. So we are relying more and more on technology. So, and therefore we at a time comes when technology becomes being digital becomes our core competency. So we talked of organizations selling through retail centers. Now these very organizations, they also have an online arm. So it is necessary to become digital, or to make digital your core competency. So as so what we mean by digital is because we are relying more and more on technology to get to increase our performance. So a company is using social media for recruitment. A company is using social media to check into the attitude of the candidate. A company is using social media for branding. So technology becomes the core competency. You try to use technology to your benefit. So as digital becomes a core competency, CIO plays a more key role. He plays a key leadership role in the critical strategic, technical, and management initiatives of the company. It could be from secure information security and algos to customer experience and leveraging data that mitigate threats and drive business growth. In simple words, we try to use technology. Every company is trying to use technology to their benefit. And when it tries to use technology to their benefit, the role of a CIO automatically increases. Now, how did the CIO come into being? When the position of a CIO was created, he was known as a technical EDP manager, or simply, he was known as a EDP manager. Now, this is as a time when there was a time when computers were not in use. Later on, in the early 80s, computers infiltrated into organizations. So, when they infiltrated into organizations, Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
There was some
Yes,
problem,
ma'am.
I think. Can you see my slides?
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop talking terminal.
You can see my slide?
Ma'am, we can see the
Yes,
cross-talking
ma'am, we
terminal.
can.
Okay, just let me see. Yeah, it's on CIO role.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Role of a
So
CIO. Yes,
we were here. We talked about digital, the company becoming technology becoming a ubiquitous element in in the organization. So everybody is using technology to their benefit. They're trying to use technology to their benefit. So uh, we are using technology for hiring, we're using technology even for firing, we're using technology for assessing the candidate's nature, his attitude towards work, his attitude towards organization, his attitude towards employer. We're using technology much more in the marketing scenario, where you do using technology for branding our products and so on. So when we talk of retailers who were selling through brick and mortar store. Now they also are having an online arm. So we are relying more and more on technology. So when technology has become ubiquitous in an organization, the role of a CIO has also increased. So he has a say in the operational level. He has a say on how the processes are being used. He has a say in the managerial conduct. He has a say in laying the strategy of an organization. Now, how does the role of a CIO emerge at all in an organization? In the early days of computerization, when computer was still taking a foothold, he was called a EDP manager. EDP is electronic data processing. He was called as a EDP manager, electronic data processing manager. Now, at that point of time, uh, uh, computers were costly. So, an organization thought of automating that function where numbers lay, where the chances of inaccuracies were high, where there was too much number crunching, where the use of technology was high, where the chances of errors, the chances of inaccuracies were high, and therefore they identified the finance department as the department which used numbers, and they automated those functions first. And there, it was only processing of the data. It's just compilation of the data for which the computers were used. Second, they realized that it is the personal function which is making your payroll, that is, they generating salary for employees. That is also a department wherein now a lot of numbers are being used. And so many organizations move to automate or install computers in the personal function. And there were very few organizations who saw it as an independent function. So the role of a CIO initially was that for only processing the data, and therefore he was known as Electronic Data Processing Manager, EDP Manager. Now he's known as a CIO because he's known not only processing the data, but he's advising the company about the strategy of a company. So he's recognized as being crucial to the successful deployment and use of IT in business organization. So he's an important part of the vision of the company. He's planning the overall business strategy of the company. So he is no more a EDP manager, he's a strategist. And therefore, his role has increased. And therefore, since his role has increased, his nomenclature has also changed. He's no more a EDP manager, but he's a CIO, Chief Information Officer, or a Chief Technological Officer. So when computerization was taking a hold, There were many companies who automated first the finance department, where the inaccuracies lay, where the chances of mistakes were high, where it was tedious to work because you were always working with numbers and there were excessive numbers, tedious to work with numbers manually, chances of inaccuracies were high, chances of mistakes taking place were high. So it was the finance department which was automated first. So one third of the organization, the EDP manager reported to the finance head. Many other organizations realize that it is also the HR function, that is payroll, which is in fact using numbers. So one third of the organization, the EDP manager reported to the HR head. And the remaining one third of the organization, the EDP manager reported to the CEO. It was like an independent function. Now, in concepts of management, you must have done line function and staff functions. So here in the first two case, it was seen more of a line function when they reported to the finance head, when they reported to the HR head. And only one third of our organization saw it as a support function to enable the functioning of the remaining part of the organization. And this is the right approach. He should be an independent function and not a sub-function of any other department. Because when you report to one department, they become gatekeepers of information. So they distort the data that they have. They have the chances, they have the privilege or the chances of distorting the data. So one third of organization, EDP manager reported to finance head. Another one third, they reported to the HR head. And the remaining one third, they reported to the, as an independent function, they reported to the CEO. He should be an independent function and not a sub-function of any department. And therefore, he should report directly to the CEO. Now, what was the problem? These CIOs or the EDP managers, they had a knowledge about the technology to be used in a company, but they lacked business vision, they lacked business knowledge. So they were strong in information technology and how the technology can benefit an organization. What is the new technology? They were abreast with the new technology which is coming about, and they would advise the company for the use of the technology. So many a time it was imbibing technology for technology's sake, not for the need of technology. So why is this so? Because they had a technical vision, they did not have any business vision. So he was responsible for creating the techno infrastructure for the company, but what he was lacking was the business vision. He should be able to combine the technical vision with the business vision, and it should not be technology for technology's sake. So we should always question, is it really needed? Do we really need to make this investment? Do we really need to spend so much money on the new technology? Because when you are advising about imbibing a new technology, that you should buy this technology and use it in your organization, in an organization, there are many kinds of people whom you have to satisfy. Some are early takers, they have an open mind, and they will welcome change. And they say, okay, let us experiment and see. If it doesn't work, no harm, doesn't matter. Then there are early takers, there are adopters. Adopters also are more pro, or they're positive minded, and they would not mind using technology as if advised. But there are also followers. There are also followers. Followers means they see what others are doing, and maybe a small fraction of people are followers, so they would follow you. So you will not face problem. The CIO would not face a problem when selling his idea about a new technology to these members of your organization. But there are also cynics and there are also laggards. Laggards are those who need to be pushed, who need to be convinced. But the most difficult to please are the cynics, and they are quite a few, quite a number in an organization. And you need to convince each of these groups. So when a CIO, if he doesn't have a business vision, he will not be able to convert this into numerical figures. He will not be able, he'll say, okay, it will improve performance of the company. But how? Will it improve sales? Will it push up the sales of the company? Will it bring about improvement in productivity? Now we need quantitative terms. It should be converted into quantitative terms. So if it is going to benefit, will there be any saving? Will there be an increasement in the sales turnover? He should be able to quantify them. So when a CIO is talking about a new technology, in an organization, there are different kind of people he has to convince. There are early takers who have an open mind. There are adopters. There are followers. But there are also cynics and laggards, laggards who need to be pushed, and cynics who will be critical with any new idea, any change which is being brought about in an organization. Now, in a company needs to convince each of these categories. They need to convince each of these groups. This is one problem that a CIO would face when he advises about a new technology uh, to be taken up by the organization. The second problem is the IT functional. The first problem is the vision. The He has a technical vision, but he lacks a business vision. He has a technical vision, but he lacks a business vision. Second problem is the IT functional tussle, which we term it as IT functional tussle. Now, the CIO is from a IT background. He's from a technology background. He is not from a functional area like marketing, finance, operations, or human resource. Now, the rest of the people are coming from from one of these departments. It is either from HR, human resources, operations, or marketing or finance. So, what man dictates, these business managers from a functional background find it difficult to digest. They do not accept. Why they do not accept? They see him as an imposter. They see him as an outsider. They see the CIO as an outsider. Their feeling is the IT manager comes from a structured environment, a very predictable environment, a very kind of an accurate environment, and they have a perfectionist thinking because they have a technical mind. So they believe that the IT manager, the CIO, does not think like you, does not think like a marketing manager, a finance manager. They see him as an imposter. They see him as an outsider. They believe that they live in a structured environment where accuracy and predictability is valued, where perfectionist thinking is the norm, where uh, 2 plus 2 results in exact 4. Business environment, as we all know, is a different environment. Have we spilled over? Uh, is your class timing over now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Which
Yes,
class do
yes,
we have
ma'am.
now?
So, ma'am, marketing management.
Okay. Would he be engaging class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
then
ma'am.
if I'm not wrong, he's not keeping well. Okay, I've not confirmed from Asif as it is. Okay, I just wind up with this point, and then I think we have a class on Monday, but I'd like to
Yes,
complete
ma'am.
this on Monday.
Ma'am, we have a class tomorrow as well at
Okay,
8:40.
yes, yes. Good, you reminded me. I'll complete this topic tomorrow. It's very interesting, you see, because he's such an important part of the organization, but does not have acceptance in the organization, and therefore how he needs to work to make himself more and more secure. So one point that we took up is technovision to business vision. He has a technical vision. He does not have a business vision. So when he talks about a technology, he needs to convince the different kind of people who exist in an organization, like uh, the early takers. He faces no problem. Adopters also. But he faces problem when he deals with cynics. The second is IT functional tussle, where the IT professional does not think like a business manager because they believe he's unacceptable because he's from a different environment. They see him as an imposter. They see him as an outsider, and they feel, okay, he's not a person from marketing like me. He's not a person from finance like me. He's not a person from HR like me. So they see him as an imposter and outsider, and what he dictates they don't want to accept.